Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Bison Workshop. I'm Bob. And today I wanted to show something I'm working on my four-wheeler. I robbed some parts off of the Polaris one time, and I finally was able to incorporate them in this Big Bear, and I wanted to show you this. And I had a lot of extra stuff left over from when I did my truck bed and had to put new lights on it. I bought a big bunch of lights and I had a bunch of them left over. So I went ahead and put marker lights on it also. And as everybody remember, well, first of all, I have to say congratulations to Trump. He got a new mug in my first video. Anyway, I wanted to go over some upgrades that I did for the Big Bear. And a lot of things was just stuff that I had laying around here. I just decided to turn it into something that would look good on this thing. And some places I went a little overboard and some places I didn't. So but anyway, without any more, I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to try to incorporate the 3D printer in this job and see if we can't make what I've already done look that much nicer. Now, I did a video on pimping out my four-wheeler, and I just turned a piece of aluminum into a plate and drilled the holes and made a vent for the fan, and these actually light up. And the eyeballs, they light up, the eyeballs and the nose all lights up. And it's red. It looks pretty cool. So I robbed these plastic racks off of the Polaris. I think it was a 2000, 2001, somewhere around there. Expedition, I believe is what it was. The 400. But anyway, I went ahead and robbed the front one and the rear one. And basically I just mounted them to the original racks. The only thing I had to do with the rear was cut this bar off that went up around here. So I just cut that off and made it straight across there, and then ground it down flat again like a tube, and then just sprayed some more paint on it. And then I made all these. I made 12 of them. They're tie-down anchors, and they're on with 1/4-20 bolts on the bottom. So they're not going nowhere. I've got 6 of them on the rear. And I did the same thing with the front. I made them for each recessed hole. This one goes in about as deep as it is long here on the top. This one only goes in just barely because it's shorter. So I made all these on the mill and the lathe. And then you got to have your cell phone holder. Then you got to have your GoPro holder or GPS holder, which is what this one was for, the GPS. And then we've got our GoPro mount on the front with our gun rack and LED marker lights. Let me set you back here and we'll demonstrate. This side switch here is for the marker lights. So we got red on the rear, got 4 on the back, 2 on each corner, same on the front. And it's the airplane type switch, so when you close that lid, it automatically turns the switch off. So then, everybody knows that I upgraded the dash on this because I absolutely despised the original dash that was on this thing. So I have just redone this with another piece of aluminum to go in behind well, actually over top of what's already there, because I only had it going up past this part right here. That's all bigger it was. It didn't come out here this far. I needed a place to put these switches, so I made this plate to actually bolt to the other plate that's underneath there. And then this here just bolts down with the original bolts that clamps the handlebar. And I cut it all out to fit my reverse switch. And I don't really like this. I'd rather the tack work on this thing, but you can't hook the tack up to this thing. I don't know why. You should be able to, theory. But anyway, let me show you what we got here. I gotta act like I'm cranking it before it'll come on for some reason. It's got digital everything. The gas tank doesn't work. It just blinks. But anyway, this one here is for the marker lights, and it lights up. You can't make a mistake and leave it on. Not that you're going to anyway, because they're pretty bright. I mean, look at how bright those things are. All right, and then this one over here is for the reverse light. My buddy Dale gave me that light. It come off of his son's, or his child's motorcycle, and he said, go ahead and keep it, man, we don't need it. So I decided to make use of it and put it on the back of this, because I'm getting tired of being up at the mailbox at all hours of the night, at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night, bringing you all stuff to the mailbox. Worrying about coyotes. It's a scary ride, but somebody's got to do it. But anyway, I'll have to take you off the tripod for this. Alright, so we also have a USB that also shows you how many volts you are. And it's USB charger. Alright, we also have two USB ports right here, and two of those cigarette lighter type plug ports. So we got that underneath here also. So anytime I want to hook up USB or charge anything, I've got plenty of places to do so. So we just jumped from the year 2000 to 2020. Alright, so what I want to do is, originally this first plate was only this big. And then I made this to go over top of it the other night to mount this to it. And I'd already had these holes right here, so I just kind of made them useful and used it to mount all this together, plus the 3 screws that mounts the speedometer down. Alright, and then we've got our switches right here, and yes, all 3 of them's hooked up. This one I'm going to put on the it has power to it, but it ain't going to nothing. I want it for the hand warmers, because I keep forgetting to leave that damn thing on, and every time I come out here in the shop, my battery's dead because I forget and leave that up there to heating. So that's what this one's going to be hooked to. And yes, I'm going to put a label here and call hand warmer. And then over here, we're going to have marker lights. And then over here, we're going to have reverse lights. And I'll 3D print a plate to put on there, just like I did the mill and the lathe. So what I'm working on right now is this piece of paper right here is my template. So basically what I've done is cut this cardboard the same width that I want. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this so that it goes in behind there, and we'll go underneath this and these, because those are bent up, and we want to try to keep it as low profile as possible. So now I'm just cutting out the hole or the relief to allow this to go past this center. So I'm just going to judge it by how deep I want it. And we're going to put a mark right about right here. Alright, so now we're going to just bring it across to right here. And this is just a rough draft. And we're just going to cut that out. I can find the scissors. So now we're going to cut this out. And basically I'm just trying to get an idea of what I'm going to be doing on the 3D printing CAD, Tinkercad. Alright, so I don't have to keep walking back and forth. Alright, so now that we've got that to where it's relieved, and that looks good because I want it to go down at least past this wire right here. So now we're going to drill us some holes right here. So basically we just make an X. And now you have your center. Alright, so I'll punch that and then we'll go to the next step. Alright, so now we've got some holes cut. Now we can put that in. And this is going to tell us about where that's going to land, because we want it to not put too much pressure on that. But we want it to make it so it doesn't vibrate too. So it kind of keeps a pressure on it. So now we need to know how long the sides are going to be. So it looks to me like the sides are going to be just below this right here. So now we're going to measure that. And we're going to go just a hair extra. So about right there will be working. So now what I'm going to do is make the walls go around here and then just kind of round. So basically, once we get this on our bed, then we can just round that off a little bit right here on the end. So we're just basically trying to make us a beauty cover to go around this and hide these switches and the wires and all this and stuff like that. We don't need everybody seeing all that. So this will hide the biggest part of it. So now the next thing I need to do is start working on it in the 3D CAD. Alright guys, I thought I'd show a little bit. I made the part, but going through the process of making it would have been a whole lot complicated. But here's the idea of what we got. We got the logo on the front, and it'll be painted like my logos. This whole piece will be black, so let's imagine that black. So let's try to get a dark color. That's what it's going to look like. So let's do a gray. kind of get a better, there we go. It'll print in black. But anyway, what I've done here is just made a box and made a hole, a box at the hole, and just took all this out. And then I added these here supports right here. And this will allow for those two nuts on the bottom of my 1/4 20 bolts going down through there. I knew I was going to use those eventually to put a panel on this, and it's going to work great. So this here will bury the nuts, and they'll rest right inside those holes. Now I may have to trim a little bit with a drill bit or a milling bit or something to make it bigger. We hope we got it centered, but sometimes it don't always work out the way I want. And this is a big piece, so yeah, I got to try to make sure everything's right to begin with. But this here will just go up and bolt on with these two pieces here. Now on the bottom of this piece, let's bring that out and show you the bottom. The bottom also has a recessed hole, and this is the bottom of this hole is actually tapered. The reason I tapered that is so that when it prints, it'll do a better job printing it instead of thinking this big area is a 90-degree overhang. So once it gets out here to the edge and starts printing downward, which it'll be the opposite because it's going to be printing upward. So let me show you what I mean by this. Let me flip this back over. And drop that back to the bed. And let's turn this into a transparent. Alright, as you can see, this hole here is tapered. That way, because it's going to be printing from here up. Alright, and then it'll print up, 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 up. And instead of thinking it's an overhang, it's going to gradually work its way around to the cone. And the rest of this is okay because there's no overhang. So that's the only place that's got a real bad overhang. Now I don't know how bad this is going to act right here, but we'll see on my logo here, the bull sticking out. There's probably going to be a 90-degree overhang on the bottom of the feet and the bottom of all the letters and in places like this right here, but because we're gradually doing it, it should be okay. Alright, and then we've got our cutout for the wire to go in there, and if I have to trim more of this out, that's fine too. I could have probably lost all this right here and used less filament, or made some kind of a square right here out of it, cut out of it. But just in case I have to put a column here, basically to sturdy it, I would have to come in with another hole, and let's say we wanted to make a column at let's see, 15 millimeters, okay? Alright, let's do a 15 millimeter on both sides and turn that into a nice circle, and then I could put a standoff there if I need to. I'm hoping this will work just fine, but if I have to put a standoff in there, basically that's what it would look like, and it would come up to whatever the bottom of the original piece is in there, and then I'll just drill a hole in the center of it, and that'll probably be made out of plastic also. I'll probably 3D print a bushing to go in here and have it so that it screws on from the bottom and screws on from the top. So, I mean, that's just an option. This piece I'd be making separate, but we'll delete that because I don't need it. And I got my Bison logo on the front of it, so let's take that and make it solid again. And let's try another color here. That's an awful color. And it just barely fits on the bed. It always hangs over on this bed, but once you get it in the Cura, the bed's a little bigger. Because this is like 20 or 215 millimeters wide and about 89 millimeters deep. And this should just go in, and I'm gonna make me a set of thumb wheels that goes up in there, sort of like the ones I made for my headlights for my truck, that goes up in there, and it'll be tapered so that it sets in that hole that I tapered, and it'll just be a short thumb screw that sticks out down to about, I don't know, 1/4 inch below the bottom of this. So that's what we're going to try to print. Right now I've got 6 barrel supports for the Challenger 45 and 50 printing. They're almost done, so I can't print it until this is done. Cura says that it's going to be 22 hours and 25 minutes to print that piece. So let's just hope it works out like I'm wanting it to. So this is the piece that we're making. I thought about putting Big Bear on it. You see the red part? Everything that's red shows that it is an overhang. But that's such a gradual overhang that it should work just fine. If not, we got a problem. But I'd sure like to have my logo on here. But we're going to try it. If it don't work, it don't work. But everything else should print just fine because I don't see no red. Everything that's blue means it's sitting on the bed. And you look inside these holes right here. You see a little red right there on the edge, but that ain't no big deal. So the only places I see that would be an issue, even in the on the bevel, it's showing no red, so that's slanted enough that it should print just fine. The only place that you got to worry about printing right is the red, and it's such a small area that it should, because it should be gradually moving up. So we'll see. It would be sweet if I could turn that to where it printed on the back sides here, but then this here would be an overhang. And that would be a lot worse. This whole area here would be an overhang. You can't have that. So, and if I turn it to where this is laying down, then all this over here would be an overhang. So this is the best option for printing this out. So we'll show you that in part 2 of the dash build for the Big Bear 400. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. You guys have a good one. Later.